Welcome back to the Better podcast, where we have meaningful discussions and intentional interviews around real estate and realtor association topics. Today is the first episode in a new series we're calling Real Estate Fundamentals, going over all of the critical information that agents and realtors need to know to build their business. So if you are a newer agent and you're just getting started, or you've been in it for a while, we're hoping that this will be some great information and you can get some good nuggets to apply to your business to grow it and be successful, because ultimately that's what we want to see here at SPAR, is all of our members growing their business and being successful. So I have two real estate veterans here, both from different worlds. I know Jeff's kind of laughing at me here. I mean, it's true. You are a real estate veteran. It's been what? How many years? I will get into that. But why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you're involved here at SPAR.
I am Liz Novotny. I'm with Vibe Realty, and I have been licensed since 2007. I am on the YPN committee, Young Professional Committee, which is more of the fun committee. Not so much the young committee, it's the fun committee.
Oh, okay.
That's where I was going. And my journey into real estate is... buckle up. It's a fun one. I am a former teacher. I taught with Minneapolis Public Schools for 6 years. Got laid off every single year, and even when I was tenured, it's common practice. And in 2005, the start of the 2005-2006 school year, I didn't get a call back. Even by November, I didn't get a call back. So I dabbled with the workforce center, which is the unemployment office, what to do next. And so then I ended up in mortgages. I did mortgages for 2006. The company I worked for had me do a very intense 6-week course on how to learn mortgages. It was called Zinix. It was down in Atlanta. 2 weeks was here in Minnesota. 4 weeks was in the state, and it was intense, where you had classes Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. You took a test on Friday. If you didn't pass that test, you couldn't stay the next week, so you had to go home. So obviously I succeeded, but with the transition from teaching to mortgages, it was a tough year for me. It was very difficult. I really struggled. Plus, that was 2006. That was a year where it was tough to connect with realtors, to form these partnerships, because that is a part of your success here, is networking and partnerships. I started that networking career early in that the company I worked for, they were a part of 2 chambers. So the Twin West Chamber, I'm not sure if they're still around, but then the Edina Chamber of Commerce. And I went to any and all of the free or low cost networking events to find people to refer and or learn from. So I met a lot of great people that year. While I was at the school, I met my old broker's husband, and I continued conversations with him throughout the year 2006. Finally got introduced to my old broker. He says, come meet her, see if you can be a part of the team. We clicked immediately. She needed some help in her short sale department. She had developed a way to negotiate short sales with the banks and was looking for some part-time help. And then I said, yes, I'll take it. I needed money, and I needed work, and I needed connections. So I started working with her. She clearly saw value in me. She said, you should get your real estate license. So she paid for me to get my real estate license, and I paid her back with commissions afterwards. And then that started my 17 plus year history of real estate here. So networking is imperative. And it was after I got into real estate, I looked back at my life and I thought, oh, I bet I could have stayed in teaching if I would have known how much networking was involved in keeping your job. And I thought, well, I'm tenured. I should just get my job. But no. Networking is imperative in all walks of life. I don't think it's just business. I think it's everything. You have to be able to talk to people, know people in every walk of life, business, to just be successful. So that's my journey in real estate.
That's a really cool story.
All right. Well, mine's not quite as interesting. I'm Jeff Zajak, area sales manager with Truestone. I will have my 21-year anniversary in the business on Sunday. So,
Congrats.
so yeah, it's been 21 years, good, the bad, and the ugly, in real estate. In mortgages. Yeah, I just, it's been quite a ride. So, just here to help and do whatever I can.
So you laughed at like me calling you guys veteran agents, and then you're like, "Oh, it's been in the business for 17 years.
I know.
I've been
We
in
are
business
veterans.
for 20."
We're veterans.
Like that's veterans. Like, I mean, you know, in real estate, it's like you're in for 5-6 years, and you're already considered a veteran because you've seen, you know, so much in the market just fluctuate.
But I think every day you learn something, even after 20 years.
Yes,
Something will come up.
absolutely.
Well, and there's always new techniques and new ways, and it's real estate's such an ever evolving business. I mean, you look at where we were 3 years ago, even 4 years ago, like during COVID, and how that was, you know, it was really easy to, you know, get clients and sell homes, and you didn't really have to, you know, you put a listing up and we got 20 offers, right? Like after the first weekend of it being up, and how that's not necessarily always the case, or then dipped a little bit and then kind of came back, you know, and even with the rise of AI and how that's kind of changing how the business is being done, and how, you know, both realtors and loan officers and title people are all trying to see how do we implement this technology in our own business to make things more cost effective, or even, you know, and really the main goal of benefit the clients, right? And that's a whole other discussion that we could talk about, because I love AI. I mean, it has its drawbacks and it has its negative things that have to be worked out, obviously. But, you know, and Liz, you kind of hit it right on the hammer of what we're going to be talking about today, which is a networking and relationship building, which, you know, yeah, that's something that's applied to every single field, every single, like even just with friendships. And it's, you know, my dad always said growing up, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that really holds true. But especially in real estate, that holds true, I feel like. So can you share, we already kind of talked about your journey a little bit. And, you know, Jeff, how did networking kind of play a role in your success?
Honestly, it's just been organic. I mean, obviously being connected with different groups and stuff, and over the years, you know, becoming a member of SPAR, and, you know, I sit on the board for the Minnesota Mortgage Association. Just the more and more that you're out there, you know, the networks are what keep you going, especially in down times. And I think the main thing is just to be out there, to be part of the community, to be part of, you know, your profession and everything within it, and even some of the answers. Like, I'm part of SPAR. I'm not a realtor, but it's important that I'm here to try, you know, for my business, but also for the betterment of, you know, the company that I work for, frankly, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Liz, you kind of mentioned how, like, you didn't realize how critical it was to be networking, and that's definitely played a role in your success. Was that really, once you started networking a lot after you got your real estate license, you know, how fast did that kind of like accelerate, you know, your ability to make an income off of being a realtor?
I can't say that it played a big role in the beginning, because of working with my old broker. She had that HomeVestors franchise. And at the time, you know, this is just at the beginning of the recession, you didn't have the equity to be able to flip, you know. So how can I help these folks out of their homes that are clearly in a bad place, can't afford it, things happened. So I had a constant stream of referrals come through, but that just was one part of my business. And then you have to focus on other parts, because it's not just today, it's next year, it's 5 years from now. And how do you keep those people in? So I am very curious by nature about people. I love hearing their stories, where they come from, how they got here, and that curiosity makes it very easy to converse with other people, connect, because people like to talk about themselves. So I ask a lot of questions and I get to know a lot of answers. And because I have done that for such a long time, with the amount of people that I know in my sphere, I can now connect people in different ways that aren't necessarily about real estate. So that puts me in a different position because, who does Liz know that might be in the school field, that might be in the hospitality field, or et cetera. So I can pull these things together so I'm seen as a resource and not so much just a real estate agent.
So that's a big thing, is not just focusing on trying to meet new clients or meet other people in real estate, but people who are outside of that, whether they're plumbers, people who do photography, like home builder, whatever it may be, landscapers, like that plays a big impact into being able to have a long and successful business.
Absolutely.
It's a touch. I mean, they call and they need a painter or something. It's just, you did their, you sold their house for them 3-4 years ago and they called you because they need a painter. It's just, oh yeah, she's in real estate and such is going to sell their house. I'll connect the two of them. It's being top of mind without being in their face.
Exactly.
That makes
exactly.
sense. Yeah.
So what are some of the other ways outside of positioning yourself as being a resource and by going out and collecting those people that you trust, who you can then refer out to, your clients or other people that you work with, colleagues and so forth? What are kind of some other approaches that you take to relationship building with clients, and not just clients, but then relationship building with other real estate professionals?
I'm super old school in that I love sending mail. So I'll send stuff through the U.S. Postal Service, and it is always a delight. I hear from everybody almost 50% of the time, which is great return, right?
I'd say that's pretty solid.
Pretty good return when you send something out. I got this card in the mail, so I send a lot of thinking of you. I send out birthday cards. I send out home anniversary cards. I meet you, so it's important for me to meet people physically, person to person, get a business card or find out where they live so that I can mail that to them so they can get that and I can continue that relationship.
So really just that consistent connection, not after the transaction is done, but consistently reaching out to them, or even before the transaction is done, right? Jeff, what about you?
I echo that exactly. It's for me, it's Novocaine. It's the same thing over and over, and it continues to work. You know me very well on social. I don't have a social media presence. I'll post something of my kids every now and then, but I'm horrible about social media and what I do, if you will. But I'm always communicating with my, I guess, current and or former clients. This morning I was pinging 3 people that did a triathlon that I did that I've worked with several years ago. And hey, great job this weekend. Just years ago we did the transaction, just following up because I saw their names on the leaderboards and stuff. And it's cool. Just, I don't know, always being around, and just to your point though, sending mailers every now and then, sending emails. I send personal birthday cards out still for people I did loans for 20 and a half years ago. They're still in my Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
And that's a true story.
Well, hopefully you have a couple of copies saved of the spreadsheet so you don't lose it.
Right. If I do, I'm going to have to find a new career. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad always liked to use OneNote for all of his, and he would put like what they talked about and all that sort of information, and you'd ask him about somebody this person, yeah, and they do this, and he'd just go off on the list of all the things. And that's another way to do it. So when you're creating then these mailers or these, messages to stay in touch, is that something that it's kind of like a canned, I don't want to use, this is kind of the term that we're using now, but like a chat GPT, everyone's kind of getting the same thing with their name put on it? Or is it you guys are personally individually every single time being I'm handwriting this, or I'm individually writing this, so it's directed specifically and tailored to them? Is there a better approach? Is there one that you've seen that's been more successful, or hasn't it really mattered?
I've honestly just done handwritten every time, and I'm able to remember a couple of different things about keeping up with them on social media and hey, how is your kid and all that kind of stuff. But everything is handwritten. Everything's just old school. I'm 1,000% certain there's better ways to do it. Maybe you can make an argument, but I if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
No, I think you can do it best with the handwritten, just your mental. And this comes down to notes, just like what you were saying with your dad. I don't use a OneNote thing. I just use a paper notebook because I'm just so tactile. I'm clearly 47. I need to touch paper all day, every day.
Oh, there is something to be said about tactile. Like I literally just had this conversation with someone about who was concerned about and interested how, as we're using technology in schools and learning and development, how that's going to change how children remember things. And he was like, man, if I didn't have a notepad and paper, if I was trying to type notes, he's like, I wouldn't remember it. If I wrote it down when I was reading in college or whatever, he'd remember it. So, I mean, there's something to be said of actually the act of physically writing to remember that information.
Absolutely. Now, I have dabbled with ChatGPT. If my brain's down a little bit, like, hi, why can't I get these words? Because I'm not a writer. I'm not an editor. I am a connector. I'm a relationship builder. So how can I put these words together a little bit more pretty, if you will, but handwritten, come up with it and write it down.
If you ever need to upgrade from the notebook, I can suggest Excel spreadsheets.
But then I have to get Microsoft, and I've got a MacBook.
I got one even better. It's called a tool called Notion. There is a high learning curve, but I love it. You can basically do so many things with it. I use it for our content calendar here at SPAR. I use it to track progress and changes that I need to make or tasks. You can do sprints inside of it. There's tons of templates that are available, and there's ones that are already built out for realtors that you can get for free. Like I said, there is a learning curve with it, but like as there is with anything, but it syncs across all my devices because I'm not a huge Apple user. Probably the only thing that I'm an actual advocate for that Apple makes is the iPad because no one's kind of done it better. And like with a lot of graphic design and stuff like that, this is more works best for me, but it's the same. It looks the same on my, Android phone as it does on my desktop, as it does on my laptop, as it does on my iPad. And it's fantastic. But there is a learning curve. So if you're not willing to put in the time to do the learning curve, then don't do it because you're just going to waste your time. Anywho, that's another
and get
tool.
angry about it, right?
But that is part of it, though. I mean, part of networking is use what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Makes sense.
Don't try to be something that you're not. Is also, I guess, something that I would maybe talk about.
Yeah. If you still need to use a Rolodex, use a Rolodex. Like, I'm serious though. Like, if that's what works for you and that's what you're good at, you might as well just use that. There's no problem with using that. I mean, it was effective, 20, 30 years ago. And even before then, you can still use it effectively today.
Right.
Right. It's all up to what you want to do. And you kind of you touched on something, Jeff, about like with social media and you don't really post a lot yourself, but you use it to, maintain and find out things about what's going on with people and stuff like that. I think that's it's another way to do it, right? It's the modern mailer, right? Yep. It's easily accessible. It's easy to respond, and responding with, like you guys were doing, what you do is writing out the handwritten notes, writing it out genuinely and not just being like, oh, congrats. Like, don't just, canned short, happy birthday messages, right? But actually being more relational and personal. And, I know there's, I'm going to name drop here, but Stephen Tran, he is a big proponent of doing that. And that's one of the ways that he's built his business is a lot through, he builds those relationships in person, connects with them on social media, and then can consistently engage with them. And it's free. Right? It's an easy way to kind of keep tabs and build those relationships. So, maybe you are someone who's grew up around tech or have used social media a lot. That's another avenue that you can apply the same techniques as what, both of you guys are doing of being intentional and consistently, reaching out and staying in contact.
For me personally, it's I'm an introverted extrovert, if that makes sense. I like to just stay with my people, with my family and stuff. And I mean, the hardest thing for me is to remain top of mind on a social media, without being overbearing or if that makes sense. But the world is changing and social media platforms are the norms. And for a fossil like me, I need to start adapting as well. But slowly but surely. I'm posting some things, but I haven't quite gotten completely over that hump yet. But
Stephen is a master at it. He's incredible. Like you, though, I am also. I begrudgingly use it. I understand its need and why it's here, and it's important. And I use it like you do. Like, okay, so I know these people did X. Let me just double check, see if there's anything new has come through that I've missed or something, and then I'll make sure that gets into my handwritten note.
Yeah, even using it as that, of adapting it to stay up on top of what's going on, right? Because we don't all have the time to pick up the phone and be like, hey, how's it going, so-and-so? Like, what have you been up to? Like, how are the kids doing? Like, it's a little bit harder to do that.
Make time, Luke, make time.
Yeah, make time for it, but also be prepared to leave a voicemail because people don't pick up the phone like they used to anymore. And so I'm notorious for leaving super long voicemails because I want to talk to you. And at least you just heard my message for 60 seconds. Ramble on about XYZ, but at least top of mind, you heard me. It's a touch. I connected.
So it sounds like you guys kind of set aside time during your work week for that relationship maintaining in your specific ways. How much time do you typically allocate on a weekly basis to that? Can you even quantify that?
Can you quantify?
I can. I'm a time blocker.
Good.
Anybody that opens up my calendar will see there's about 20 hours a week worth of touches set up. Current clients that are, hey, how's your pre-qual going? People are in the process, both listing and buyer sides, but also just reaching out to people that I haven't talked to in a couple of months and maybe saw something unique or whatever on Facebook that I could follow up with, just touching. But there's a few hours a day that I time block for those specific purposes.
I aspire to be a time blocker. I've always wanted to be. I try. But then because as a realtor, you do work a lot from home. And I don't know if it's just the female aspect, but I have a hard time putting the blinders. And if something distracts me, then... So I have to go out of my house to make sure I'm diligent enough of not getting distracted by anything that's going on in the house, pets as well. So I aspire for the time blocking, but I probably spend maybe 4 or 5 hours a week. Definitely a solid hour connecting with people that I'm not individually working with right now. So an hour a day, but it's not time blocked. I need to.
But honestly, lessons. I would say that the hour a day is more than most people are doing. So
something.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
It's something.
Yeah, even a small amount and just working it into your routine. Like it's like, all right, you get up, eat your breakfast, first thing you do after you finish your morning routine is, I'm going to follow up and, write notes and emails, call people, try and set up new meetings or just reconnect with people. Even those small incremental changes can make a huge impact. And the difference between you having work when there's not a lot of work going around to, you being sitting there being like, well, I don't have any clients and now I have to spend all day, every day trying to find new clients and you're scrambling, right? So then, are there any additional techniques that you guys kind of have found most effective for maintaining and strengthening your networks outside of just reaching out as much as humanly possible?
I am a big hoster. I like having parties, gatherings, etc. And I have annual events that I invite all of my sphere and clients to. So I've got this year will be 3 for winter solstice. I'm really big on the, coldest, or not necessarily the coldest, but the darkest day of the year and the light. And I like to celebrate that. So I'll invite people to my house and I serve up beverages. And then I've got this whole lantern thing where I've got lanterns that line along. So I build it up. Okay, this year I've got 75 lanterns. This year I've got this many lanterns. but I gather people on a regular basis. So I try to do something quarterly, because if I do more, then I'm exhausted. My family doesn't see me as much. I'm getting a little tapped out of just the regular day-to-day connection, but because I'm a hoster by nature and I like to bring people together, that's one technique that I use. But not everybody's like that. So it would just kind of depend on what you are more into as your own personality.
So are you a National Night Out block captain then?
I am not, because my neighbor, I'm only 3 years in my neighborhood, and I've got a neighbor that does it. So I support her and help her. And inevitably, this keeps happening. It's always on a night for my son's activity. And unfortunately, that takes precedence. My family is going to always take precedence over everything else. And so I kind of miss out a lot on that one.
So finding opportunities to bring multiple people together.
Yep.
Well, in the spirit of networking, I'll get you my email address and or regular address so I get invited to these things.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
But no, and honestly, I come back to just my center of just being around and trying to be out, be involved in as many things as humanly possible, whether it's the city, the county, state ran organizations, and just being out and about, stopping in, saying hi to the professional referral connections, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that sphere, I'm in my car a lot. There's a lot of windshield time. There's a lot of driving and just face to face. It's the tried and true methods, show up to every single closing that you possibly can and shake hands and hug everybody and just be part of, the web.
Mm-hmm.
So is that an opportunity if you're just starting out and you're, just starting to get closings? Is that an opportunity to meet new other professionals that are also in the business? Like, is that something that you guys do of like, hey, I've never met this person before from this title company. Oh, I need to connect with them as soon as this is done. Like, is that something that you do?
If you're not doing it, you're missing the boat.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially as a new person. I mean,
exactly.
This is Minnesota.
It's a built-in opportunity.
Absolutely. This
Right?
is just, it's a small community.
Yeah.
Whether it's title, real estate, mortgage, insurance, wealth managers. I mean, it's a small community. It's a small sphere. Once you're in it for 20 years, you kind of know most of the people. And if you're brand new, how else are you going to get to meet these people? Get out. If you're not going to your closings, if you're not meeting the listing agent, if you're not meeting the title reps, you're missing out. Just putting a name at the face.
So after you meet, new people, whether that's, I guess we'll start with clients first. What's that process after you first meet someone new? Like it could be at, your kid's baseball game. It could be at one of your, event parties and someone brings a friend along, right? How do you guys then take that from being we had one interaction to nurturing that into either a prospect or building that relationship? Is there like a set process that you have? Or is it just kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of reach out like a week later? What does that look like?
Yes. So after that initial meeting, there's always a thank you email, because you always get an email or a text depending on what it is. And then I'll ask for a one-on-one, be it coffee, lunch, something. Maybe it's a hike, because I'm very much into nature as well. Whatever, depending on how I met them, find a way to connect with them one-on-one to learn more about their journey, where they are in life, how can I help? So it's always that initial meeting, and then you'll get that request from me for something. And I'll meet people that don't even drink coffee, but they'll come because it's really nice. All the coffee shops have 40 million beverages, so you don't have to just drink coffee. Yeah. And it's just a way to have that one-on-one dedicated time with that person. Another thing I have done for many, many years is, I know it doesn't look like it now because I have my phone here, but when I meet with people, I don't have my phone present. So I don't necessarily put it on Do Not Disturb, but I don't have it there so it distracts me. And I chose not to get an Apple Watch because I don't want to be distracted with whoever I'm company with, so that they know that you are the most important person in the room right now, not what might be going on behind the scenes. Yes, there's probably a fire going on with a transaction I've got or something, but I can spare an hour to connect with somebody and make them feel valuable.
What do you do, Jeff?
if they're organic people that I meet at the kids events, I mean, I'm generally coaching or I'm around, and you're going to see me every week. I don't miss, to your point, family comes first, so I don't miss practices. I'm that dad that's always there, and I'm thankful for that. But, just being, honestly, there's nothing special. It's just constantly being there. If somebody comes over and says, hey, such is maybe thinking about selling a house, buying a house, refinancing, not right now, but then twice a week they'll get pinged. They go into my spreadsheet, they go into my Excel spreadsheet, they go into my Outlook and my part of my daily or weekly goings on, and just a touch or text or an email, something simple. Hey, I'm here. Again, I go back to trying to be top of mind, but not being in your face. It's tough to do. It's a tough balance, but
And there probably isn't really that's a different balance for everybody.
Yeah.
There's no set formula. You have to figure out that formula for yourself. So give yourself some grace. It might take some time to figure out what is your preferred method for networking, connecting with people. Try some things out and you're like, this isn't me. Don't force it. It's okay to pivot. And even at 17 years in the business, I can still pivot and do something different and feel successful.
So that kind of something that you guys consistently are mentioning, that's a through line between both of you, outside of the fact that you both seems like operate in the same way of how you nurture connections, whether those are new clients or whether those are other real estate professionals, is you always approach it at being a resource and you listen. You don't talk. You don't sell. You're not a salesperson. You're not there to push anything. You're just being like, hey, I just want to get to know you. And you're just really intentional about learning about them. And then through those conversations, finding ways of, how can I help you? Right off the bat. Even if they're not looking to buy or sell, even if they're not looking for a referral partner, it's just, you're looking for your clients looking for someone who needs a painter? Oh, sure. Here, talk to this person, right? And starting small. Right. And not approaching it as a salesperson. Because I feel like it's really, and no one likes a salesperson. And if you ever get a chance, read the book, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Fantastic book. It is one of the top recommends that I always give out to realtors or anyone in business or sales or whatever. One of the key things that he always talks about in the book is, how you're approaching everything. You are a guide. Everyone that you're trying to help is the hero. You are Obi-Wan Kenobi and they are Luke Skywalker. You're just helping them achieve their goals. You are not the one that is the hero of their story. And so using language in your communications and you're talking with them around that is going to be very beneficial. Because ultimately then they don't feel like you're a salesperson. You're actually building a genuine relationship with them. And that's kind of what it sounds like is the through line for both of you guys is, hey, I'm just here to help, right? Right? And listening, active listening is, that's a hard skill for all of us, right? Of sitting there and hearing someone talk and us only talking a little bit here or there, but that's a hard thing to do. So getting into practice, how did you guys teach yourself how to do that? Or was it a trial and error process? Was it just a constant reminder, okay, this meeting, remember, listen more than I talk? How did that work? Or how did you build that habit, I guess?
For me, again, it's just who I am. I want you to talk more. And if somewhere, somehow, some way I can help, that's just who I am. Be thankful, be grateful, be blessed are the things that I and my family live by. And it's just, how can I help you? And if that comes back, if you put good vibes in the world, they'll come back to you. That's a philosophy or belief that I truly have. And so in that vein, in the beginning, when I first got in the business, maybe I wasn't as successful because I wasn't knocking on every door and being the proverbial quote unquote salesman. But hopefully over the years, just that genuine, I truly care and I want to help you. And like you said, if you just need a number for a painter, I'd be happy to send you 2-3 people that I know, love, and trust. And if somehow down the road you come back to me to do a mortgage for you or what have you, great. But I'm just here to help.
A lot of breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I personally, I was grown up. This must be my personality to be able to listen and whatnot. But having that education background, going through teaching, one of the big things that you put into practice, a muscle you develop is when you're asking a classroom something, you got to give it wait time. You cannot expect anybody to answer off the cuff because kids aren't going to be able to do that. And don't expect adults to do that. Give them some time to formulate their answer. I think it was 6 seconds we had to wait after we asked a question before we'd start calling on people to answer them. But give that wait time so that you can let them formulate their thoughts to answer the question. So that muscle was really built up through teaching and definitely got advanced as I've worked in this business this many years later. And listening, the active listening is something you got to practice all the time, because sometimes I'm like, oh, but I really want to tell you about this, but you're clearly talking and I want to get through all of that, but oh, I'm so excited to tell you about this. So it's something I have to check every day, even though it seems like it comes natural.
God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth is something my coach told me a long time ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that reminds me of another book.
Ooh, is this a book club,
Right.
Luke?
No, it's not. But I believe it was the Professionalism Committee does a book club every year. And they actually did this book this year, which I was really excited about because this is one of my favorite books. That can kind of help you learn how to actually approach, like, essentially kind of active listening, but more like asking questions and repeating things that they're saying to learn more information versus you just like sitting there. Is Never Split the Difference: How to Negotiate Like Your Life Depends Upon It by Chris Voss. He was a FBI hostage negotiator for a long, long time. And so he's got some stories. He's got some really interesting stories. And fantastic book. And he goes through multiple just things that you can use even in your daily interactions. It could even be, with coworkers or with clients or whatever, to really, not in a malicious way, but in a way learning how to communicate better. So it's not like you're just dominating the conversation. And it sounds like you guys are kind of mentioning being okay with that silence, right? You mentioned that, hey, wait 6 seconds, wait longer. That's going to be uncomfortable, and that's okay. And that's something he even talks about in the book of like, one of the techniques is mirroring. So, right, like you say something and I use the last couple words of that sentence and then just ask it as a question and then wait. Do not say anything. It will get uncomfortable and they'll want to answer it, right? And being okay with those uncomfortable silences, those are okay. Those are normal, right? It's just probably someone collecting their thoughts more often than not, right? Mm-hmm. But even when you're dealing with, realtor to realtor conversations about negotiating, it's the fantastic way. Like, if that person hasn't read that book and isn't using that technique, they're probably going to get really awkward and then probably like, oh, right. Well, I mean, I may be, and then give more information. Mm-hmm. So another fantastic read. I love books. Audible has helped me get through so many more books. But what have been kind of some of the challenges that you guys have faced with like networking and relationship building, and how have you kind of overcome those for you personally?
Go.
Again, the new age of networking, if that makes sense, I'm coming back to it, the social media component. It's just, every year I do a reflection on the previous year and goals for the next year, right? We all hopefully are doing that. And it seems like more often than not, just tweaking that for me for being a little more proactive on social media. Like every single year, it's part of that. I need to work on that. And so just going from old school faxes and scan to social media is part of the networking. I mean, that's what the kids are doing these days. And just trying to morph and evolve myself, I think, is the biggest challenge.
I would agree with that. That's probably my same challenge, is trying to adjust with the whole social media piece. how much is too much, how much is too little, trying to fit it all in with all the millions of things I want to do. It's that the social media piece has been my challenge, trying to figure that out. And I don't think I will ever figure that out. And I'm fine with that. Right. I think I need to acknowledge that I'm not going to be a master. I'm not going to be perfect at it, but it's okay because I'm trying, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be about posting content, right? Like just engaging with other people's stuff. I think that's where a lot of people get into the rut of when they're starting, trying to do social media marketing or, creating content at all. It's like, oh, I got to create content. It's like, okay, yes, but no, right? Like that's half of it. The other half is engaging and like with people who are commenting on your stuff and then engaging with other people's content and photos and things that they're posting. It's apply those same techniques that you guys are talking about to social media. And it can be daunting. And, the newer generations are getting more and more comfortable using online platforms and wanting to communicate and connect and talk with each other that way versus using, picking up the phone and calling, right? No offense to my generation, but if I don't know the number, I ain't picking up that phone. If someone knocks on my door, I don't want to answer it. Like, it's just, for whatever reason, the millennial generation, we have it ingrained in us of like, oh, don't pick up that phone number because you don't know that number, right? And that's not how it always used to be. And Gen Z has their own thing, and Gen Alpha coming up here, they're going to have their own thing. And that's a whole slew of people that need homes and need help.
I will say, though, in the spirit of networking and such, picking up your phone is part of building that sphere.
So if you're someone who you are in the position of being in, a realtor and you are looking to build and grow that network, if you don't recognize the number, pick the number up. If it doesn't say spam, obviously.
If it's somebody trying to, get money for their partner overseas or whatever, hang up the phone, but if it's, it might be a referral. Yeah. It might be somebody, and if you don't pick up and they leave you a message, but you don't check it for an hour or whatever, this is a squirrel business, and that person is probably already gone on to the next realtor and or loan officer or what have you, and you missed your opportunity. If you can't answer your phone, period.
Yeah. Time is of the essence.
I know it's weird. I know it's weird for the millennials.
It's...
Yeah, it's weird for all of us.
It is weird just because there's so many more, like, phone scams have become so much cheaper to do. Like, it is so easy. Granted, now there's tools like Google has their assistant that can answer the phone for you and screen the call, which is really nice. And I've used that, and I've never had a problem with, someone who is actually genuinely trying to connect with me answer. I'm this person, I'm calling about this, right? Never had that issue. Maybe there is someone who's like, I don't really like this, I'm going to move on, but few and far between. So there's tools to kind of negate some of that spam as much as possible. But yeah, and let's be honest, you guys probably get at least 20 emails a day that are just spam. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's not always fun to filter through. So I know we've talked about a lot about building relationships and how are we actually maintaining those and cultivating those. But, in terms of finding those, I know you kind of mentioned, Liz, how you host events and you try and do it once a quarter. And, Jeff, you're trying to go to all these things. What are the types of events or gatherings that you are finding are the most beneficial for networking?
I am on a few different boards, nonprofit boards. So I would recommend to anybody new, find something that you're interested in and join. Figure out a way to join a board, a networking group, a community action, engagement, something that you're passionate about that will fuel you to go to this meeting, whatever it is, meet people there. And as you're working through all that, you'll start making more and more connections to find other committees to be a part of or other boards to be a part of, or other activities your kids could participate in. So start with the things that you love the most and branch out from there.
Like basket weaving. If you really like basket weaving, I'm sure there's a group.
Absolutely.
Do it.
If you like it, do it.
Yeah.
Again, I echo the same thing. It's fine. Don't be true. If you don't like basket weaving, don't maybe join the basket weaving club. But if you're a realtor or you're become a part of SPAR, be part of your own industry, and then it can go from there. If you have kids, coach, help, be present. Don't just sit in the stands on your phone. There's a ton, the philanthropic nature of people, I think, has maybe diminished a little bit with the millennials and such. You don't see as many people helping coach and this and that and the other. I just think being a part of the daily society more, being involved, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your own profession. It can be a cross pollination, if you will. But going to closings, I mean, it's just not constantly looking at your phone.
Yeah.
But being a part
Being
of
present.
being part of the three-dimensional world with others. And just, again, if you're gonna be a realtor, be a great realtor.
Yeah.
And part of that is being part of your fabric as a realtor. SPAR, all of that. Same thing on my side. I think just get out there and be present.
Yeah. With your idea of service, I heard a podcast I listened to. Rainn Wilson was interviewed. He's Dwight Schrute from The Office.
He also has a good book.
Yeah.
I read that book
He's
too. Soul Boom.
fantastic.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. So he said once, and while I felt and believed and lived this, it really hit home, and I say this a lot. We are no longer in a time where it's enough to just not be a jerk to everybody else. We are now in a time where we need to be in service of other people. There are too many people on this planet where the gap between the haves and have-nots has gotten bigger and bigger over time. So if you want to feel good about yourself as a human, you want to get out of depression, get into service, start helping other people. Just seeing how that little thing you did, you carried that bag of groceries to the car for somebody, brightened and made their day. It may have made their month or year, but being of service is what is necessary for life. And with sales being our networking kind of way we do things, it's just a great way to just get out there and do things. And you end up meeting people. It's just a happenstance. You end up meeting people that either need you, know you, or want some sort of referral somehow.
So go in with it with an intention of serving and helping, and not with I'm here to get clients. And that's why you guys are kind of, sounds like you're mentioning, like, do something that you enjoy, right?
I think you can read through the ones that are maybe just there for that reason of building.
You can see it.
Yeah. And
Because they go around and they talk to every individual person and they have their little 5-minute elevator speech. And that goes back to what you guys were talking about earlier of like genuinely listening and asking questions, right? Because let's be honest, that's one of the most common intro questions of what do you do for work, right? That's going to get brought up, right? And that's a whole other topic that we can talk about of just knowing your why and why you're in real estate and why you chose to do the career you did outside of beyond monetary need. And that's another great book. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. Have you read that one?
Yep.
Yeah. Another great one that really can really help you with identifying how you are presenting yourself and having conversations with people about what you do. That doesn't come across of like, I buy and sell real estate. I help people buy homes, right? I help people get loans. It goes beyond that.
But I think in that vein, like if you came into real estate or lending without knowing, like you need to be out and about and around and present and not just sit in your house and wait for applications to come rolling in or somebody to call you to sell their house, might not be the careers for you, So I mean, hopefully, if you came into these fields, you know that you need to be out and about, and if you're not, get out there.
Yeah, and if that's not you, that's okay. Yeah. It doesn't mean that it's just not what's right for you. But So it sounds like that would kind of be your biggest advice for newer realtors and newer agents and real estate professionals. Then is just like, if you are not out and about, finding a place to volunteer, finding, being involved with the association, being involved with, school, wherever that you are passionate about and you get excited about. If you're not doing those things, then you're not going to have a good time. So it sounds like the biggest key takeaways that I'm hearing from you guys are: be intentional with your follow-ups, make it a habit, weekly, daily, set aside time, however it works best for you, and track what you're doing and who you're talking to. Second thing is create opportunities to meet new people, right? Whatever that may look like for you. And then thirdly, take every opportunity that comes across your way to meet new people, even if it's as simple as, the closing table.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it should be that simple. Yes. I mean, you don't want to be just somebody on the other end of the phone for these people. You've been shepherding them through one of their biggest transactions of their lives, if not the biggest. At least you can do is show up to closing, and it's a great opportunity. It's just, how many times you've been hugged and people cry?
Yes,
And it's
so
great
happy.
thing.
I mean,
why would you want to miss that?
Yeah, and even if it was rocky towards the end, you're still super happy that day, and it's worth it. And that day is most memorable to people. Maybe not that rocky week, 3 days beforehand, but the fact that it all came together tends to be burned in their brain.
It's never rocky at the end. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I work in the real estate industry, and even when I bought my home, I was like, call my loan officer to be like, so that number's really big? And he's like, yep, everyone calls me when that number rolls in of that final closing cost number.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, my goodness, but it's worth it in the end. Is there anything else that you guys, any other advice that you want to give to newer realtors or real estate professionals looking to try and elevate how they're networking and building relationships?
Be authentic to yourself, who you are. Talk to people the way you would normally talk to people. And just be humble and authentic, and people will see it and acknowledge that, okay, this is a real person. They're down to earth. They get it. They understand what I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to go. That would be the key to success.
She took everything. Be yourself. Work hard. Work hard. Be present, and just try to be a genuinely good person. I don't know. Put good vibes out there. We'll come back and work hard. Answer your phone every now and then. Get out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to.
Yeah.
But be part of your fabric. Be part of your community.
Awesome. Well, that brings me to some opportunities that SPAR has. If you don't know, one of the things that we do a lot here at SPAR is we try and create those opportunities for agents and other real estate professionals to create relationships with one another. And that's part of what you guys do on the Metro YPN committee. Is one of the core principles is engaging in the association, growing your leadership ability and connecting with other real estate professionals, right? That's part of your guys' mission statement as a committee inside the association as that arm. And, you guys, I know, have this social mixer tour that you've been doing last year, and you're doing it again this year. If anyone's interested in that, it's just an hour to 2 hour block. There are different locations all across SPAR's 12 county area. We can't go to all 12 counties, but I know every single year you guys are trying to spread around and try and get farther out, and so everyone can kind of connect and meet new people and start building some of those relationships inside the industry, right? And you never know. And even, I'm going to share this story because it can be as simple as a volunteer event that community engagement is putting on. There was every year, the last couple of years, we've been doing a Meals from the Heart challenge, and community engagement's the committee that coordinates that. And last year we had someone go to it, and I remember talking to Joe, the staff person who helps organize that stuff for the committee. And he was saying, you know, one of the persons that went, they volunteered, had a great time. And wouldn't you know it, someone had a client that they weren't able to work with, but passed it on. Right. And that was, you know, she didn't go in with the intention of trying to get clients or get referrals or anything like that. Genuinely went because, oh, this is a great opportunity to give back, meet some new people, have some fun, have some laughs. And in that process, unknowingly, they were able to get a referral for someone who, oh, this is more of your specialty than it is mine. Hey, I just met you for an hour. I feel like I can trust you. Here you go, give this person a call, right? Even in those volunteering. So, you know, and even we do a lot of educational opportunities that are seminars, workshops. Those are other great opportunities to, usually we build in some time in those just to talk and meet new people. Don't just come, sit down, sit in your corner with your laptop and start working. Like that goes when you get back to what you guys are saying is be intentional, right? And I mean, I see that you guys do that every single time you come to an event here at SPAR. You're immediately like, all right, I don't know that person yet. I'm going to go introduce myself, right? You know, I want to meet these people and genuinely have those connections. So those opportunities are available, and you can find those at SPAR's calendar. So if you just go to spar.com, one of the first buttons that is on the site is calendar. There's tons of opportunities there, and it doesn't have to be SPAR, but this is our podcast. So I'm going to say, you know, take the opportunity. We do these events to benefit you as members of the association. So we want to see you there. We want to see you be growing your business, and this is one of the ways that we can help you grow your business is getting those, helping you build those connections. So yeah, and I can proudly say that I've talked to many, multiple people in the association that are members that have said, I asked them, you know, so what benefit have you gotten out of? Oh man, I met this person, this person, this person, and you know that turned into this and turned into this, and it's just insane. Like just even in this small building or even events that happen outside of this building. So I will get off my soapbox now. But Liz, Jeff, thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you, Luke.
And no, this was really good. I'm probably gonna have to listen to this back again because I know I'm the one that's gonna edit it and everything like that. But I'm gonna have to listen to this when it's fully completed again. Like I said, this is a new podcast series that we are doing. If you have any topics that you have questions about or are interested in that are in the realm of building your business, that's what this new podcast series is all about. So feel free on Spotify. You're able to we have a question right there. You can just simply answer the question there. Feel free to send us an email, spar@spar.com, for what other topics you'd like to see covered. And hopefully we can get some of those made, or even just comment on the video if you're watching this on YouTube. So awesome. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks.